Power tool batteries, cordless drills, cordless saws, grinders, whatever. We'll use these or variants of these. This one is a Bosch, 12 volts, 1.5 amp hour. Only it's not now, because it's dead, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. It doesn't hold a charge, doesn't last. This is what happens to these kind of things. So, what you got option wise? Get a new drill. It's a useful spare, to be fair. Buy a new battery. Yeah, you never know what you're getting. Especially when you buy these non-branded ones off eBay and other auction sites are available. Not singling out eBay, but you just don't know what you're going to get, do you? And there's horror stories where people have bought these and taken them to bits, and there's just been a couple of 12 volt cells in there and nothing else. So, what's inside this? This. Now, I'm sure you've seen or you've heard there's a lot of snake oil about regenerating these and bringing them back to life and checking them out. There's loads of YouTube videos on there. It's a chemical reaction at the end of the day what goes off in here, and everything has a finite life. So whilst I'm not in a position of authority to be able to dispute or prove otherwise, I think the best thing to do is to replace the cells. And it's a relatively straightforward thing. If you look at this, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cells. Strangely enough, 1.2 volts each makes 12 volts. These are sub-C type cells. Okay, 1.2 volts, nickel cadmium, and you can actually buy these here, if I can get them. Is a bag, or was a bag, of cells. Same thing. Let's bring this back. Same size, same length. These are 2000 amp hours. Milliamp hours, sorry. Which effectively is going to make my 1.2 amp hour battery slightly better. Take a little bit longer to charge, but to all intents and purposes as good as what this was when it came out of the factory. Now, these things don't take well to soldering. You know, when you've got these kind of batteries and you're running high temperatures, you know, as I said before, it's a chemical reaction inside here. Probably not as bad as, say, lithium ion and that kind of stuff, but you know, these aren't to be trifled with. So these are hot spot welded together very quickly, very efficient, can be done by machine. And you know, I'm sure there's loads and loads of YouTube videos on how to make a little spot welder. I was watching a video the other day from that guy with the double-barreled surname that I can't think of his name now, that kind of does a lot of work with renewables and recycling and upcycling, and he made one out of a car battery and an old starter solenoid and a few other bits and bobs like that. Yeah, fair enough, but I just want a new power cell for my Bosch drill. I'm not going to go and muck around making a spot welder. So these come, strangely enough, there's one I've opened, with insulated tags ready to solder. Positive, negative. The heat shrunk, you can trim that back, solder them together safely away from it, from any kind of damage to the cell. and then you can trim them to the size that you need. Put some heat shrink on them before you solder them together, and you've got a join that is safe. So how do you go about it? Well, if you look at this, 10 1.2 volt cells, which means obviously they are all wired together in series. So that's 1.2, 2.4, 3.6. Now how it works, I need to tell you. So what you need to do is obviously one of these cells is at the beginning, and one of these cells is at the end. And if you was to unravel this, it would just be a sausage shaped 10 cell line like that, just joined together. So use this as your guide, keep it, take pictures of it, whatever you need to do. The first thing you need to do is identify which is your first cell and which is your last cell. And it's fairly straightforward because this one is actually mounted on the first or the last, you know, it's all literal, and a cable joins the last or the first. So I'm going to work from the positive end here. So this cable is obviously positive because it goes down to this cell, which we'll call cell 1, and then it goes up to the negative, which is plated across to the positive of cell 2, which goes down, plated across to cell 3. 3 then jumps across to make it nice and square and neat. Positive down to negative, that then jumps to the front, and so on and so on and so on, all the way around, snaking all the way up to this cell here, which forms part of the kind of mount bit. You can imagine that's inside there, and those two together. So what you're going to do is basically copy this like that. So it's going to go positive, negative, across to a positive in the corner there. You know the score. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do them in pairs because they all are all mounted in pairs to start with. And then I'll tack them across at the bottom, and then we'll take it from there, yeah? Okay. That's your lot. Okay. I salvaged the top bit. This bit here literally was just crimped to the top of the last battery. So I left a little bit of a tab just so that I could solder to it. There's a temperature sensor there that you just need to tuck back down inside. There's nothing, no extra work to do really. This literally just came off, put it on, solder it on, and then the live tucked down there. I put a bit of insulation tape just to hold it together while I soldered it. So, I mean, you can go crazy with a load of glue and gob it all up and all that kind of stuff, but literally all you need to do now is make sure I've got this the right way around. Just pop that in there. So put it in the right way around. Okay, just make sure that there's nothing that's likely to short circuit. Pop in these little bracket things, like so. And that goes in there like that. That goes in like that. That goes up inside. That's it. So let's just okay, let's give it a bit of a doinsy check. And we've got, I don't know if you can see that. See that? Let's have a look. 12.62 volts. So they're obviously 1.26 volts per cell. I mean, I have no idea, to be fair, what kind of charge they've got in them, but that is reading a healthy 12 volts. So let's pop in the screws that hold it up. It's a satisfying bit, isn't it? You know, when you've kind of finished a job and you're just putting it all back together again, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about this kind of stuff kind of floats my boat. You know what I mean? Some people do gardening and some people do walking and all that kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with all that, you know. Horses for courses and everything. Oh, I'm missing the proverbial screw. Well, it'll turn up. Okay. What do you reckon? Kind of works quite well, I think. Right. I don't think that's a bad job at all, to be fair. It's gonna need a charge, obviously, and it's gonna take probably a little bit longer to charge than the original one, because those cells, wherever they are, throwing them away somewhere, those cells were 1.5 amp hour for the 12. There, look, I put 2,000 milliamp hours, which is 2 amp hour batteries in it. So, bill of materials, really. I mean, consumable wise, flux, solder. I trimmed the tabs with a pair of nail clippers, screwdriver, putting it together, taking it apart, sharp utility knife for cutting off the insulation, and I'll put it back in out of the way. Just a standard general purpose soldering iron. Plenty of flux helps. Keep your iron hot so that you can get in there quick. And I'm going to pop it on charge now and see if it see how long it takes to get a full charge. But you know, 20 quid for the batteries. I'll put the link in the description of where I got the batteries from. No affiliation to them, don't know them from Adam, found them on the web tonight. Some battery outfit. They weren't the cheapest, they'd got less capacity ones, but you know, for the price I paid for a replacement battery of unknown, we'll have a look at that when that comes, to be fair, because these came within 2 days. Right, this is the Chinese replacement battery, 2000 milliamp hours, nickel metal halide. This one, different battery technology. Says you can use the same charger, but we'll see how this one's built. If I can get the shocker open. Had my COVID shot the other day, the vaccine, part 1. Controversial that it is, not going to get into that. Everybody has their opinion. I like arseholes, aren't they? Everyone's got one. Personally, I had it and I've done worse shaving. Didn't feel a thing. Still don't feel a thing. Although a good friend of mine had a very serious reaction to the vaccine, but you know, I'm not here to say whether you should or you shouldn't. It's your choice. Okay, right, well, pretty much the same really, although there's no metal tines on the switches, but on the clips at the side. Same kind of design. This one's hot glued in by the looks of it. SC 1500 nickel metal halide. Interesting. 202008, so whether that's some date stamp. So there's a potential fraud. Is that the right word? Is that too strong a word to use? It says 2000 there, it says 1500 there. But you know, it seems to have stood up to the use I've been giving it. They've done a much neater job of joining it together, and their tines, tags are much thicker. I think that's the difference. Thicker tags. But apart from that, pretty standard stuff. Yeah. So internals wise, not a lot in it apart from unmarked cells of supposedly 2000 that kind of look like 1500, so maybe there's a little tip for you when you're buying them. Just buy the 1500s, because that's probably all you're getting different wise, is a different sticker on the bottom. 17 quid though this was. You can't grumble at that really, can you? Well, what can you say really? I've tried both, and to be fair, I'm quite impressed with this battery. You know, the Chinese one, build quality is pretty good. So far from the testing I've done, it stands up quite well as a replacement battery. This one, the one I made, well, the one I repaired myself, I kind of think that the quality of this is as good as the original. Probably the only slight downside I think with this is the tabs that join it together are a little bit thinner than the original one, so it kind of gets a little bit warm when it's under load, and I think that kind of restricts the current a little bit. It definitely doesn't seem as torquey as this one. As for longevity, you know, between charges, not much in it really. I genuinely think it's down to personal choice. I enjoyed making this or repairing this. I did. You know, you get that satisfaction. Budget wise, this is probably slightly cheaper, infinitely cheaper if you take into consideration your labour and your time and everything. But I think I just need to carry on using them and see which one outlasts the other. But you know, it's not a scientific test. I enjoyed doing it. It proves that you can do it. And if you've got access to these batteries cheaper, you know, the cadmium cells, then do it. You know, good effort from the company that supplied them. Quick turnaround, no affiliation, as I said before, with them. Does the job. Weight wise, about the same. Yeah, inconclusive, I suppose. I'm happy with both, and at the end of the day I've now got two, so everyone's a winner.